Something could happen on this show. You never can tell.
Hi, everybody. Pam. Hi, everybody. Pam here from the Rock and Roll Show. Oh my God.
You should just submit this. And say, that's it.
All right,
we're done.
Brought to you
Just say brought to you by Beverly Records.
okay. Brought to you by Beverly Records. And I've got Jack and John Dresnes here, the owners of Beverly Records, with us today. And I am so thrilled to have you guys as a sponsor of this week's show. And not only the sponsor of this week's show, but our newest sponsors. And we are so thrilled to have you.
Yeah, we're happy that we could do it because this is a worthwhile project. And I'd love to see it when it's done because it looks amazing.
Thank you. So what prompted you to become a sponsor for the Dick Biondi film?
You?
Really?
Yes.
You're kidding.
No, I mean, you do so much and you're so involved and you're so dedicated.
Thank you.
It's the least we could do.
Oh, wow, that is so...
And get this done.
That's terrific. Thank you so much. But you're obviously Dick Biondi fans.
Oh, yeah. Grew up with Dick, and I was thrilled the first time he called the store, and he needed a record to play for one of the fans that had requested it, his listener. And he would often call me and say, Jack, do you know this song they're talking about? I said, yeah, I know that one. I said, do you have it? I said, yes. He said, well, how can you get it to me? I said, well, in the early days, we'd just send him a tape. And later we got it. He didn't know how to do it, and I didn't know much about it, but Johnny helped me put it onto the internet with the streaming, and we emailed it to him and got it done. But that's the kind of guy he was and is. He was so dedicated, he'd go out of his way to help somebody listen to a song, find out something about a song, and I was so inspired by him. Yeah,
he's an unbelievable guy.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys so much. We love you for this. We can't thank you enough. And I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot more of you.
I'd love it.
Right. Keep up the great work.
Yep.
Thank you.
Go, Dick. Hi, Dick, if you're listening.
Right.
Okay. See ya.
Hi, everybody. It's Pam from the Rock and Roll Show with Pam and Joe. And I'm here with my Director of Communications and Marketing, Mr. Joe Farina.
Hello, Pam. Hello, everybody out there. Hope everybody's doing well, staying safe, stay happy, healthy. Before we introduce our awesome guest, please check out our website, dickbiondifilm.com, like our Facebook page, join our Facebook group. And if you're interested in being a sponsor of this show or the Dick Biondi Film, reach us through our Dick Biondi Film page or email me, joe@dickbiondifilm.com. Okay, without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it is truly an honor to introduce our next guest, legendary lead singer, vocalist, all-around fantastic guy. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Crying Shames, please welcome Mr. Tom Doody. Tom, how are you? And welcome.
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you so much. I wanted to tell you guys what an honor it is for me to do this. I really appreciate you thinking of me this way. And it's going to be a great day. I'm looking forward to saying some great things about Dick. So
awesome. We are looking forward to hearing them. Let's just get started. First of all, thank you so much for being part of the Dick Biondi Film and for lending your voice for Dick. And, you really added something special to the film. And we actually have it together. We have the whole story together now.
Oh, wow.
We just need to, we're at the point where we need to find all the media, the footage, the music. We're putting it all together. So we're still working on making it, dramatizing it, but at least we have the whole story together. So
Yeah.
we've come far.
Very good.
So, yeah. So anyway, what would you like to say about Dick Biondi? I know you have a lot to say.
You know what? It's amazing that somebody who became a part of my life when I was a young teenager is somebody that I got to meet later on, and he helped push records that we have. And I want to tell you one thing that's really important. I met him in a sock hop, if you remember what those are, in Downers Grove North High School. He was doing a sock hop with a group named the Bee Gees, or not the Bee Gees, the GBs, and they were a great group. And Dick was there, and of course he was doing his things that he did on WLS, on top of a pizza and all of that stuff. And everybody in the room was mesmerized because at that time, and a lot of people don't understand how incredibly huge the disc jockeys were. And we're talking about not only incredibly huge, we're talking about the numero uno, the biggest. He had all of us in Chicago listening to him all the time. But he was there and he was singing on top of a pizza, and he had a peanut butter pizza, believe it or not. That was his, yeah, they gave him a peanut butter pizza. And I stayed around for his autograph. And, I was talking to him afterwards, and he was talking to me the same way that you guys are talking to me. He was looking me in the eye. He was paying attention to what I was saying. And I was just a 14 or 15-year-old kid, but he looked at me as though I was the most important person in the world.
Yes.
And I said, I just love what you do. And I said, one of these days I'd like to do like this group is doing. I'd really like to be on stage. And he shook my hand and he said, you know what? Keep that in your heart. You'll do it. I know you'll do it.
Well,
And
fantastic.
yeah, and I was on cloud nine for months. I mean, the Dick Biondi talked to me.
Yeah.
Forward this a few years when he came back to WLS, or was it WLS or CFL? I forget.
Came back to CFL in 60.
CFL. That's what I thought. And he had us in to do an interview. And I went over this with him, and he said, that's a great memory. He said, I always wanted to treat everybody like they were a very, very important person. I said, Dick, you did. I said, now that you're spinning our records, I said, I can't believe it. I just cannot believe that the same guy I used to listen to is now playing our records. And we started a really good friendship on from that time. We would talk frequently. He'd ask, what's the next song you guys are going to release? And he wanted to get on top of it. And I can't tell you how much that meant to me, not only as a young kid, but as a young adult. I mean, and that you guys are honoring Dick. Your diligence and perseverance on this is beyond the pale. It's just wonderful.
Well,
and
thank you.
I can't think of anybody who deserves to be honored more than Dick Biondi. He was the disc jockey, Dick Biondi.
I got to tell you that the reason I am so diligent on Joe, I don't know, is just a cut above this guy. The reason I am so diligent is the same reason you love this man, because when I was 13 years old, I met Dick, and I was very shy and awkward and, and he did that to me. He looked me in the eye, and I couldn't get over. I met him at the Hillside Shopping Center, and I couldn't get over what a nice man. I was like, because he was number one. Not only in Chicago, but in America at that time. I didn't know that, of course, but I found out later. But I expected a guy with a big ego, And
no. And if you ask, and I'm sure you've asked everybody that has talked to him, but when I talk to the guys about him, I say, what's the main thing you remember about Dick? They're all talking about the things he did on, the radio and all that, and what a great personality he was. But we all boil it down to, he was such a nice man, and he looked all of us in the eye as though we were very special. All of us.
Yes.
Everybody has the same thing about Dick, and I'm like I said, thank you so much for letting me be part of this. This is
Thank
just
you.
wonderful.
We are so
No,
thrilled to have you, Tom. You're a sweetheart.
We are, and everything you just said reflects something that you said in the Dick Biondi film. If I remember correctly, you said something like that Dick was a mentor to you.
Yes, he
I mean,
definitely was. When I say a mentor, he was in a couple of ways. You know, first of all, the way he carried himself on stage, that's the way I wanted to be. I wanted to do on stage what he did. I wanted to be very familiar and very comfortable with people on stage.
You are.
Well, thank you. And the second way he was a mentor is that after I got to know him personally, we would talk about what records we were going to release. And he would always give me, you know, his ideas and his opinion. And, you know, I can't tell you how invaluable I found that to be. So he was a mentor in not only talking to me, but just by the way he was. You know, I could see how he treated people. I wanted to do that. You know, I could see that fame had not gone to his head. I wish I could say I did that, but, you know, I was a young kid. But, yeah, he was a mentor, Joe. Thank you for bringing that up. He was just, and he's the sweetest guy in the world.
Sure.
Just the sweetest guy in the world. Yeah, and you know what? I'll tell you a little inside story. When we did the Ides of March 50th annual or 50th concert, 50th reunion concert, it was in Glen Ellen, and it was a stage. He and Bob Surratt were there, and when I had done, you know, my show, as I was walking off, Dick grabbed me by the arm and he said, "You are still so good. I'm so glad I know you." Dick Biondi said this to me, you know, and that just came to my mind. Thank you for reminding me about
That's so
mentorship.
special.
Yeah,
that's pretty powerful.
Just,
That's pretty incredible.
yeah. As a matter of fact, it kind of chokes me up. I'm glad, but my face looks strange on this. To anybody who's watching, I have a headset on, and I have a thing of San Francisco Bay Bridge because I'm in my bedroom. I don't want you to see unmade bed, you know. So, but I mean, it really chokes me up to think about those things. It's
no.
amazing. I'm 75 years old, and I still am in awe of that guy.
I am too. A lot of people are.
Yeah.
He's such an enormous heart. His heart is like.
He still does. He just has an enormous heart. And I'm glad that you guys grabbed onto it. Joe, I appreciate you being there too. Of course, I'm talking to Pam, but Joe, I'm so happy that you are there. I mean, everybody knows who your dad was, and we all loved him. He represented Chicago greatly. And for you to be involved in this is very important too. And Pam, I mean, you are a trooper. There's just nobody that would have glommed onto this and just grabbed it and, you know, like a bulldog until it got to the finish line. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. It's just, you know, it's a funny thing. I've always wanted to tell Dick's stories since I was a kid. I used to like to write, and I kept a file folder for years in my file cabinet of, no matter where I was in my life, I had a file folder with Dick Biondi clippings in it, and I would write stories. Yeah. And then finally I got into video production, and one thing led to another. I met a filmmaker, and one day we were riding into the city, and it was a long ride, and we talked and talked, and I did a lot of talking. And my little secret dream came out. And I said, God, I've always wanted to do a story about Dick Biondi. And she said, well, you could do it. She was like Dick to me. She said, you could do it. And I didn't really believe her at first because I never made a documentary. And it took me a while to really believe her. The first few years I was doing this, I was like, what am I doing? You know?
Right.
But I had to do it, you know. And so this is my dream. You know,
which is incredible. You know, I'm just thinking of something right now as we're talking. You know, Dick did shows with us when he came back to Chicago. We did quite a few together. And he had a contest. He said to the people out there. He said, we're giving away, a Crying Shames t-shirt to anybody who knows my middle name. And nobody was there. And I said, I know it. I said, how do you know it? I said, Dick, when I was 14 years old and you were doing a sock hop at Downers Grove North, I went up to you and we were talking and I said, is your real name Dick Biondi? And he said, yes, it's Richard Orlando Biondi. I said,
Yep.
And Orlando is his middle name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you remembered it all those years.
Yeah, so I got the Crying Shames t-shirt. And I did remember it, yeah.
That's great.
Talk about the Crying Shames. Tell us how the band came together. What happened? Because did Dick remember, by the way, did he say, oh, I remember meeting you at the high school? Did he remember that?
No. But, I wouldn't expect him to. There were probably 400 or 500 kids getting his autograph,
I know.
But, yeah, the Crying Shames, we started in 1965. We had all gone to a junior college in LaGrange Junior College. And Jerry Stone was the guy who started everything. Jerry Stone knew me real well. We were friends from high school. And we were sitting in the lounge one day, and he said, hey, I'm putting my band back together. I said, oh, that's great, Jerry. I'd like to come see it. And he said, I'm looking for a singer. Do you know anybody who could sing? And I said, yeah, I can sing. Wow. And I hadn't sung anything since grade school Latin choir at Holy Trinity School in Westmont. So he said, yeah, okay, come on over. And we went to a rehearsal, and it was in his living room. And they said, well, what do you know? And I knew like 4 or 5 Beatles songs. So we did those, and I sang them. And, everybody looked around and kind of shook my head. And Jerry said, we'll call you later. So I got home, and my mom said, Jerry Stone called you. And I said, okay, I'll call him back. And he said, you're in. I said, great, that's phenomenal. We had Mike McIntyre was the drummer. Dave Morgan was the piano player. John Manzer was the bass player. And I can't remember the lead guitar player's name. That's part of being 75. You forget that stuff. Mm-hmm. But we went and we had changes. John left for whatever reason, but he left. And we had another guy in our junior college, Dave Purple, who was just the funniest guy in the world and just a great person. Mm-hmm. And we said, we're looking for a bass player. He said, I can play bass. And we knew Dave played keyboard. He was a great keyboard player, classical Bach stuff. And he came in and we did the same 5 Beatles songs I did. And he just nailed them. And what we found out about 6 months later is that Dave had never picked up a bass in his life until the day before he did those. And the only songs he knew were those 5. So it worked out great. Amazing. Yeah. And we started playing, and we played a bunch. And it came to be school year again. We were a summer band, we called ourselves. Yeah. And we broke up because we had a couple of guys that went away to different schools. And we got the itch to play again. So we got back together. And Jerry said, I know a guy in Downers Grove who can play drums. His name's Dennis Conroy, who just happens to be the best drummer I have ever worked with. And he said, I know a guy who can play lead guitar. His name's James Fairs. James Fairs is just an awesome talent. So we played together, and we got really good. We played in Elmhurst and in Hinsdale, and we played a couple times a week. And we played, and we got better and better. And Dex Card heard us, and he said, man, you guys are incredible. He said, I want to introduce you to somebody. So he introduced us to Bob Monaco, who was partners with Jim Golden. They had a company called Destination Records, and they wanted to do a single for us. We said, wow, you think we're ready? He said, you guys are ready. Yeah. So we did If I Needed Somebody, or Someone, by the Beatles. And that's on our first album, If I Needed Someone, the one that we were going to record as our single. But we got a hold put on it by George Harrison. He didn't want it released in the States until he had put it out. So, we thought, oh, well, that's the end of this career. And they said, no, we're going in tomorrow to record something. We had no other songs to record. Jerry Stone had a 45 of Sugar and Spice by the Searchers. We learned it the night before we went in. I changed the melody. We changed harmonies and all that stuff. 9 o'clock in the morning, we went in to record it. In about 45 minutes to an hour at the most, we had recorded it. The way we did the vocals is we had the whole band stand around one microphone, and we sang, and we moved in and out on the mic to balance ourselves on the vocals, and we sang, and what you hear is what we did there. When we were done with that, Bob Monaco took an acetate, which is the first pressing of the song, and he brought it upstairs to WLS. We were in Sound Studios, which was on Michigan Avenue. They were below WLS, so we got in there. We packed up our equipment on Lower Wacker Drive. We got to Upper Wacker when we went out to Michigan Avenue to go home. We put it on WLS, and within about 2 minutes, Dex Card came on and said, "This is the first time that you're going to hear this group, but it won't be the last. This is a group I discovered. They're called the Crying Shames." And he played Sugar and Spice, which we had just recorded, and we were going down Michigan Avenue.
That's incredible.
And we almost crashed.
That's incredible.
That song, I just have to say, I remember that song. That was such a part of my life. I was dating a young man who had his own band, and they crowded around the microphone and they sang that song, and that was one of the big songs that everybody listened to.
Well, it still gives me chills to hear it, believe it or not. It really does. I mean, it just was such an incredible experience. And we went on from there to Top's Big Boy in LaGrange. That's where we used to hang out. And we got out of our cars, and there was one of our friends opened his car door, and he said, "They're playing your song." They were playing it again 20 minutes later. All of Top's Big Boy got out of there, and they were all standing around their cars. Everybody put on the radio, and they were all dancing to Sugar and Spice. And they played it 2 more times in the next hour. I mean,
holy cow!
Yeah, the song or the movie That Thing You Do.
Yes.
There was so much truth in that. I mean, if you ask anybody, they'll say, "Yeah, we went through that, and they did that and that and that." It was amazing. So that's how we started, and we went on to do other things. We had a couple of members that had to leave because of the draft, and we got 2 more, Lenny Curley and Isaac Guillory, and we were very fortunate to be able to do a Scratch in the Sky with them, and we put out, I think that was some pretty good music.
Yeah, I have that degree. I mean, I just want to say, looking back, how I got interested in, for example, I became a fan of your music, the Crying Shames, and all by listening to Dick Biondi. That's how my generation, I'm in my mid-40s, remember Dick from WJMK, and he would play your music all the time. And I thought, wow, that's really, really amazing. And what really stands out to me, to my ears, about the Crying Shames, the amazing songs that you put together, are the harmonies.
Yeah.
I mean, they just blow me away. Sure, absolutely. And and if you listen to other Chicago area bands talk about the Crying Shames, that's kind of a running theme. They're like, "Man, we wish we had the Crying Shames harmonies."
Well, thank you for saying that. It's just a thing about the harmonies. We were blessed with people who could sing, but we worked so very, very hard on those harmonies. When we were going to go in and record Could Be We're in Love, we learned that song in the Blue Village in Westmont. Yeah, that's where we used to rehearse. we sat around on the stage while Jim Ferris took out an acoustic guitar and showed everybody the song. Now, it was kind of a neat song because he had major and minor sevenths in it, and the chord progression was a little different. So, the guys learned that pretty quick. But before we did anything with it, he had them get up and we played it, and played it through over and over again, probably for 4 or 5 hours. And it wasn't that it was that difficult a song. It's just that we were looking for perfection. We wanted it to sound a certain way. We knew when we did this chord progression, we were going to have harmonies on top of it, and we wanted to make sure there was enough room to hear the voices in that. So, they did that for a day. The next day we came in and Jim said, "Toad, I'm going to teach you the lead part." And he did, and we went through that for about an hour and a half. And the reason it took that long was that he allowed me to go ahead and put my own thoughts in on the melody. He had a melody that he wanted, and most songwriters would say, "No, do this," But James said, "No, go ahead, you hear it this way, go ahead and do it that way." So I did that, and then we had all the guys come around. They learned harmony parts. For the next 2 days, we sat on the stage, and when I say 2 days, our rehearsals were like 8 or 10 hours long. So for the next 2 days, we went, and we must have done 70 or 80 versions of this song until we got it to a point where we went, we all like that. That's nice. The harmony parts in the background, they weren't just you would sing this, you would use these vowels to sing this. This is the way you would attack it. And so we had all of that. We got up by the microphones after that, and we sang it through, and we still changed it. And then we did it about 4 or 5 more times. This is over a period of 4 days to learn one song. And we went, yeah, this is what we're going to record. And we did. We recorded that. But as you mentioned, our harmonies, we worked so hard on those. All of the songs we did. I think Sugar and Spice is one that just came naturally to us. But everything else, we just worked so hard on the harmonies.
Yeah, that's great. I love to hear that. I mean, this is such a rich history of the band and the rock and roll, and a lot of people don't hear all these little stories behind the scenes. It's really cool.
Yeah, I really wish people could have lived the experience with us. I can't tell you how precious it is to sit back and remember those things. And I talk to James Ferris and Jim Pilster and Lenny Curley frequently, and we all, we laugh and we remember those things, and we say, "You remember when we did this?" Yeah. And it brings back a flood of memories. And Joe, you were talking about Dick playing, or you heard our songs from him playing. One time I was in Chicago, and we had called him up on the radio, and we were talking. I said, "Dick, I hear you're playing our songs all the time." And he said, "Of course." He said, "They're great songs." And I said, "I really appreciate that." And he said, "Not only are they great songs, but I'm your friend." I mean, what can I say about a guy like that?
I know.
Yeah.
It's really special. You know what? I hate to say it. It's about that time.
Wow.
Is it okay? I just want to ask you real quick. How did you get the nickname Toad?
Good question. It's from my brother Jack, who was our road manager, our first road manager, as a matter of fact. But when I was a kid, we would play, flag football and stuff. And he said, "Another TD from TD." And he said, "TD from TD, TD. And he said, "Toad." So my brother named me that because we were playing football, and if you put TD and TD together real quickly, it's Toad. But I like to tell everybody, and you don't have to believe that, it's because that's the way I look,
No. Oh.
And my brother said, "You smell like a swamp," so that's fine.
Oh, that's great. Sounds like a brotherly thing.
Yeah, it is a brotherly thing.
Yeah.
Oh, this is fun. This is really fun. Thank you so much, Tom.
This has been terrific. Thank you so much, Tom. It was really an honor and a pleasure. And thank you for joining us. And Pam, thank you as always. And before I depart, real quickly, dickbeyondifilm.com. Like our Facebook page, join our Facebook group. If you want to be a sponsor of this show or the Dick Biondi Film, get a hold of us through Facebook or send Pamela and I email. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Pamela, Tom, great seeing you, and we'll see you down the road.
Okay.
Joe, it's great seeing you.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks. All righty, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
We'll be right back. And thank you, everybody. This is so much fun that we get to share this with you and people like Tom Doody from the Crime Shames. I mean, this is rock and roll history and Dick Biondi history. So thank you for joining us. Be safe, and we'll see you next time.